And here he comes again off the turnover, and he slams it home! Outstanding girls basketball matchup between the team on top. To the forehead, he scores!
Good afternoon and welcome to Unscripted with Scoot Sports. I am John Skudris, happy to be with you here on a beautiful Saturday. I shouldn't really say beautiful, it's pouring rain outside, but every day is beautiful here in New England as the NFL season creeps ever so closer to becoming a reality. The 2018 preseason began this week as Thursday night saw the tip of most of the preseason schedule after, of course, the Hall of Fame game over a week ago. And so we continue with our 2018 AFC predictions. And today we begin with the AFC South, a division that last year was won by the Jacksonville Jaguars, who ended up winning a playoff game, in fact, 2 playoff games en route to an AFC championship loss. The South also sent the Tennessee Titans to a postseason berth as they won in a comeback victory on the road at Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs in the wild card round before falling to the New England Patriots in the divisional round. Today we take a look at the AFC South, really a division I think could be won by 3 different teams, either of those two or the Houston Texans, who of course were ravaged by injuries in 2017, including the loss of defensive star J.J. Watt and rookie star at quarterback Deshaun Watson. We begin with the team I believe will win the AFC South. That is the Houston Texans. Of course, Houston last year had a real tough campaign after they had what was a real enigma of a start to the campaign thanks to young Deshaun Watson. The rookie came in, started the season 3-3. This despite a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. Watson had one of the best rookie performances in recent memory in a high-scoring affair against the Seattle Seahawks. Unfortunately for Houston, Watson would go down after 6 games with a torn ACL in practice and miss the rest of the year. The Texans would go 1-9 in his absence. Bill O'Brien has already proven that he can field a competitive team even without a star quarterback, having made the playoffs the 2 prior years with such players as Brian Hoyer starting under center. This year, Deshaun Watson is back, and whether or not he's going to be feeling some of the problems from that knee injury remains to be seen. However, what doesn't remain to be seen is how talented this Houston Texans team is. Returning most of their starters from last year, the only key losses for the Texans were on the offensive line: Chris Clark, Derek Newton, and Xavier Su'a-Filo. They also lost veteran inside linebacker Brian Cushing and safety Marcus Gilchrist. However, they did make moves to replace Gilchrist in the secondary, bringing in former Arizona Cardinal Tyrann the Honey Badger Mathieu. Mathieu is expected to play a bit of a hybrid as a slot corner as well as a free safety for the Houston Texans. Houston, of course, also has Deshaun Watson coming back as well as J.J. Watt, who missed most of last season. Let's take a look at the Houston Texans' schedule and why I predict them to finish in first place in the AFC South. The Texans' campaign begins, as we've already noted when we did our AFC East predictions, at New England. A tough matchup for Deshaun Watson, although he almost did defeat New England. If it wasn't for a last-second Brandon Cooks touchdown last year, I do see the Patriots holding fort at home. The Texans will fall to 0-2 with a tough road loss to the Tennessee Titans, a team that I see competing for first place, but ultimately splitting with Houston on the campaign. The Texans then will win 4 consecutive games, including this one at home against the New York Giants, one on the road at the Indianapolis Colts, and then back-to-back home affairs against the Dallas Cowboys and Buffalo Bills to move to 4-2, heading into a big matchup on the road at Jacksonville. The Jaguars may not have a lot of home field advantage in front of their crowd, but they will hold fort in splitting with the Houston Texans in Week 7 before the Texans get wins in Week 8 and 9 in order to improve to 6-3 heading into their bye week. Those wins over the Dolphins and Broncos, respectively. Out of their bye week, the Texans have a lot of home games down the stretch. 4 of their final 7 are at Reliance Stadium. They'll lose a road matchup from our nation's capital, more correctly Landover, Maryland, as they'll fall at FedEx Field to the Washington Redskins before winning 3 in a row at home. 2 divisional matchups, the Titans and the Colts sandwiched around a victory over the Cleveland Browns. As the Texans set themselves up for a potential division title run, things will get a bit murky with losses on the road to the Jets and defending champion Eagles. But a victory over the Jaguars in Week 17 at home clinches the AFC South for the Houston Texans as they go from 4-12 to 10-6 with Deshaun Watson under center. Something that shouldn't be considered too out of the realm of possibility. This was a Houston team that, when healthy the 2 years prior, went 9-7 without a quarterback of Watson's caliber. And now that he is back, along with J.J. Watt, Tyrann Mathieu, and the rest of their team, I think that Houston is the front runner in a loaded AFC South. My pick to finish in second place in the AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the defending division champion Jaguars, who won their first playoff game since 2007 a year ago, will be looking to get their way back to the postseason in 2018 behind a bona fide, fantastic defense, not to mention a running game led by young phenom Leonard Fournette. The only concern for the Jacksonville Jaguars remains at quarterback, as Blake Bortles was brought back yet again, as the fifth-year quarterback has struggled at times with not only his accuracy but his leadership as well, turning the ball over at an exponential rate for a team that has their sights set on the postseason. Anybody who was a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles under Michael Vick knows turnovers are a contender's greatest enemy. Let's take a look at the schedule for the Jacksonville Jaguars as they kick off on the road at MetLife Stadium against the New York Giants. That is a win for New York at home, I think. I think the Giants get off to a good start against an AFC South opponent. But then the Jaguars pull off a big 3-game winning streak, including a win at home against the New England Patriots in a rematch of the AFC Championship game. They then get a critical victory at home against their division rivals from Nashville, the Tennessee Titans, before taking care of business against the Jets at home in Week 4. A 3-1 start will be halted by Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs from Arrowhead before the Jaguars come back and beat Dallas on the road in Week 6. Jacksonville does get that win over Houston before a loss in London to the Philadelphia Eagles, as they will head into the bye week at 5-3. Coming out of the bye, hopes will be abound for Jacksonville to make a run at a division title, but a couple of hiccups along the way will occur, in my opinion, as 3 consecutive losses to the Colts, Steelers, and Bills will send Jacksonville to 500 before they will then bounce back with 4 consecutive wins to put themselves in a position to win the division in Week 17. They'll beat the Colts at home, the Titans on the road, the Skins at home, and then the Dolphins on the road, before setting up that winner-take-all Week 17 matchup against the Houston Texans. The winner winning the AFC South, and as you just saw, I do think Houston holds fort at home against a tough Jacksonville squad. That puts the Jaguars at 9-7, which, while not good enough to win a division title, may just be good enough to win a wild card berth, but we won't find out until we finish up the AFC playoff predictions next time on Scoot Sports. In third place in the AFC South for 2018, I predict it will be the Tennessee Titans. This is a team a lot of people believe has a chance to win this division, maybe even represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, though I think that they're maybe getting a little bit ahead of themselves. Tennessee, of course, won a big road playoff game and a comeback against the Kansas City Chiefs in the wild card round last year before bowing out in the divisional round to the New England Patriots en route to New England's Super Bowl berth. But for the Titans, they have a new head coach in Mike Vrabel, a revamped offense around Marcus Mariota. It's going to be interesting to see how they respond under the tutelage of Vrabel, a first-time head coach who's only been a coordinator for a couple of seasons. Most people remember Vrabel as the linebacker who made a couple of appearances at tight end and goal line situations for the Patriots back during their dynasty run of 3 and 4 years in the early aughts. He is now the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, who in my predictions, as you see here, get off to a pretty solid start with back-to-back wins on the road against the Dolphins and then at home against the Texans. Their schedule does stiffen up as you get closer to the middle of the season, as they will fall at Jacksonville and then at home against the Eagles. A tough loss on the road to the Buffalo Bills sends the Titans to 2-3 before they'll bounce back against the Ravens in a rematch of the 2003 AFC wildcard game to get to 500. They'll fall to 3-4 heading into the bye with a London loss against the Los Angeles Chargers before they will drop even further to 3-5 with a loss against the Cowboys on Monday night coming out of the bye. The Titans will shock the world by beating the Patriots in a rematch of the divisional playoffs last year in Week 10 before they will once again lose to a team that they are favored to beat by falling to the Colts on the road in Week 11. The Titans will lose yet again at the Texans before bouncing back to beat the Jets, but the loss to the Jaguars on Thursday night in Week 14 will pretty much wrap up their playoff hopes as they'll fall to 5-8. 3 consecutive wins against the Giants, Redskins, and Colts at the end of the year will bring them to a respectable 8-8 record, but a 2-6 record against winning teams and a 2-6 record away from Nissan Stadium in Nashville is what's going to cost Tennessee a chance to make the playoffs, as they will fall to 500 in 2018 at 8-8. And bringing up the rear of the division in 2018 will be the Indianapolis Colts, a team that really could go either way this season under first-year coach Frank Reich. The Colts are hoping to get Andrew Luck for a full season after not having him for a single snap a year ago. They still do have Jacoby Brissett, who started almost every game last year for the Colts, just in case they do not have the former number 1 overall pick out of Stanford. But my prediction is, assuming that Luck does play a lot of the season, if not most of it, I still don't think the Colts will be competitive enough to win this division or even get a 500 record. Folks, keep in mind that just 2 years ago, Luck played in all 16 games, and they went all of 8-8 under Chuck Pagano. So this isn't like Andrew Luck is the immediate savior for a Colts team that still is riddled with holes from top to bottom. Early on in the season, the Colts do get off to a tough start as they will lose at home to begin the campaign against the Bengals. A big bounce-back win opens their season at 1-1 with a road victory over the Redskins. Then their schedule really does get difficult. 3 consecutive tough matchups on the road at Philadelphia, at home against the Texans, and on the road against the Patriots. I see the Colts losing all of those games to start the season 1-4. Things don't get easier as they will lose at MetLife to the New York Jets before bouncing back for a win against the Bills and losing on Sunday night against the Raiders. That will move the Colts to a record of just 2-6 heading into their bye week. Things will get a little better in the second half of the season. The Colts do have a lot more home games, including back-to-back divisional home fights against the Jaguars and Titans that I'll believe that Andrew Luck and the Colts will win. A home loss to the Dolphins sets up back-to-back road losses against the Jaguars and Texans, putting the Colts at a dismal record of 4-9. But they do finish strong as Frank Reich gets a little bit of a confidence boost heading into his second season as the Colts head coach, as Indianapolis will bounce back to beat the Cowboys and Giants before falling in Week 17 to the Titans to finish off at 6-10. The Colts' road woes that were apparent last season continue. The Colts go just 1-7 on the road away from Indianapolis and Lucas Oil Field as they lose this one and finish at 6-10. And finally, let's take a final look at the AFC South standings. My projected standings in 2018, as you see on your screen. The Houston Texans, by virtue of beating Jacksonville in Week 17, win the division at 10-6. They get a home playoff game. Meanwhile, Jacksonville 9-7. Tennessee 8-8, and Indianapolis bringing up the rear at 6-10. Jacksonville may be able to sneak into the postseason with that 9-7 record. I have not yet finished up the AFC West standings. Once we do, we'll let you know all the AFC playoff participants before we move on to the NFC. But that's next time here on Unscripted. Until next time, as always, I want to thank you for joining us here on Unscripted with Skudris Sports. Please do like, share, and subscribe if you do enjoy the content and want to see more as the season progresses. Until then, good night, good luck, and good football. This has been Unscripted with Skudris Sports.
Outstanding girls basketball matchup between on top to the forehead. He scores!